Another tough road trip. And what do you know? They play bad. Man, the California road trip is so back. It's so difficult again. Now that the Ducks and Sharks have finally gotten their act together and are starting to get better, and now you throw Vegas in there on a bit of a Pacific road trip with a pit stop in Sin City. This road trip is going to be tough again for teams. Because remember, back in the 2010s, especially the mid 2010s, California road trip was the hardest one out there. You had to play San Jose, LA, and then Anaheim back to back to back. Ooh, that was hard. That was really hard. In the years since, it has dwindled and become a pretty easy road trip to stomach, especially since the Sharks have been down in the basement like the Blackhawks have been in the last couple of years, and the Ducks haven't been far behind or in front, whatever. The Ducks have been below average for the last couple of years. All three of those teams, Sharks, Ducks, and Hawks, are currently in the middle of long playoff droughts. But regardless, sounds like the road trip's back because the Hawks just had that road trip without the San Jose part, weirdly enough, and that they still played 4 games. We'll get into that in a second, but they were very, very bad. We're going to go ahead and start in Vegas. And this is a very controversial game, not for anything happening in said game, but more so who's starting in net for the opposition for Chicago. This is the first NHL game for goaltender Carter Hart in 2 years. And that's mainly because he and several other players of the 2018 Junior Hockey Canada team were accused of sexual assault. And so they had to go deal with a court case. The teams that they were on released them. Carter Hart played for the Philadelphia Flyers. He was released after this allegation was levied against him and his teammates. And in the end, his Hart and his teammates were acquitted. Otherwise, they were found not guilty via lack of evidence. So they could neither confirm nor deny whether or not the act was actually committed, pretty much. And so this has a lot of people talking. And I'm not going to get into the details of the case. There are so many people who have talked about it when it happened and are talking about it now a little bit, now that Carter Hart's back in the league. But you can do your own research about this case. But there's a bit of irony, considering that the team that's playing him in his first start are the Chicago Blackhawks, which have had their own fair share of allegations in the organization, the Kyle Beach incident from 4 years ago. And so it's a little bit of irony that this is where we end up having this match. But, I think that it's not great that Carter Hart's playing in the league right now. I mean, he was found not guilty, I get it, but there has to be a precedent set. Because this happened, this whole case happened about 2 years after the Kyle Beach incident, which, I mean, not a lot of NHL fans like the Blackhawks anyways because they just had their dynasty a decade ago. So, that's definitely still too much winning for a lot of people. I get it. There's the whole winning part of it. But now you had a very serious allegation on the organization from a year in which they won a Stanley Cup. And that makes things very, very difficult for a lot of people to look over. And then you get a team like the Vegas Golden Knights who already have a lot of detractors because so many people really don't like Vegas because they've come into the league and just dominated. They've literally played for almost a decade now, and they missed the playoffs just once. Just once. And the Chicago Blackhawks were the team that eliminated them from the playoffs, by the way. Remember that about 4 years ago. But still, just one season where Vegas does not make the playoffs. So there's that part of it, and then You get the whole Marc-Andre Fleury, Robin Lehner type of stuff. Like, there's been a lot of stuff that Vegas has done to their players, and just from the fact that they've won a lot, that NHL fans don't like them. Now you add the Carter Hart thing about him going to Vegas after he's been acquitted, and you have all his baggage, and NHL fans really hate the Vegas Golden Knights. So you got two teams that the casual NHL fan who's been watching for a long time truly hate because of certain things that have happened in their organization, going head-to-head in a game that was very good. Let's just be honest. This was a very good game. And look, say what you want about Carter Hart. Dude can play the position of goaltender. You can't deny he's got skill. Because, well, he had his welcome back to the NHL moment in the second period. When the game was tied late, dude was standing on his head. And this one frustrates me. Not because they lost to Vegas or lost to Carter Hart or whatever, but because two of the three goals that Vegas scored in regulation went off of Hawks defenders. Spencer Knight played a great game. He played a really good game in that one. 2 goals got by him because his defenders hit it into his own net. And the third one, which came with under 3 minutes to go, was a really dirty goal where Spencer Knight made like 2 saves before it was finally shoved, in essence, behind him for the game-tying goal. And while he didn't have to do too much in overtime, when his number was called, he came through and made some big-time saves in overtime. And then he fell apart in the shootout, which really stinks. Look, Vegas scored within the first minute of this one, and that's just wonderful. And then Oliver Moore comes back and snipes one by Carter Hart. Again, welcome back to the NHL. And yeah, that was a beauty of a shot from Oliver Moore. Game tied. And then Carter Hart with just the awful giveaway that he had. Again, welcome back to the NHL. Tyler Bertuzzi jumps on it, puts it in. Hawks go up 2-1. And while Vegas would tie it up, Connor Bedard, dude. I can't believe this dude's on this team. He is so good. He's so good, dude. That shot to put the Hawks up 3-2, that was nasty. We've seen plenty of these shots this year from Bedard already, but that one, that one's up there. That was a snipe if I've ever seen one. Unfortunate the Hawks come out on the losing end, and they had their fair share of chances in overtime. They dominated that overtime session. That was one of the best regular season overtimes I've ever watched. That was incredible from both Spencer Knight and Carter Hart. I gotta give props because there were so many amazing chances in overtime. This wasn't an overtime that just kind of went by like that. This one had you on the edge of your seat the entire time while the overtime went by pretty quickly. It was high danger chance after high danger chance, and each goaltender stepped up to the plate and made big time plays. And so this one goes to a shootout, and the Hawks lose because they can't score. They got a huge goal from Connor Bedard, which that's one of the best shootout goals I've ever seen. And I'm a fan of Patrick Kane. I mean, seriously, dude. That was a perfect poke check from Carter Hart. I mean, that was absolutely perfect. Textbook poke check. But Connor Bedard's one step ahead of him, pulls it back and tucks it through the 5-hole, which was freed up because Carter Hart went for the poke check. That was gnarly. Absolutely disgusting. But the Hawks still lose because they can't do anything else in the shootout. And once they got to the 4th round and didn't score, I was just like, yeah, here it is. It felt like it was just a matter of time. And lo and behold, the game's over and they lose in a shootout. Turns out both the Blackhawks and the Golden Knights had been terrible this year in overtime or shootouts, so someone had to win. But yeah, this is the big problem with Chicago right now. Not really, it's not the only one. There are definitely other problems we'll get to later with how they finish this road trip, but it's just really frustrating that this team can't close out games late. They got to hold on by one in regulation. They have stunk in overtime and shootouts this year. They're now 0-2 in the shootout. They've won just one overtime game at all this season, and it was a 2-1 overtime win at home against the Anaheim Ducks. But they can't win past regulation. They can't win past regulation. Sure, loser points are great, but loser points can only get you so far. You got to find ways to win in overtime because that's what good teams do. They find ways to win. What a surprise. But that one sucks, especially because you want to beat a goaltender in his first NHL start in 2 years. Anyways, next up, the Blackhawks have to play the LA Kings on the road at Crypto.com Arena. That's what it's called. It's not Staples Center anymore for some stupid reason. One of the biggest name downgrades in arena stadium history. Like, seriously, Crypto.com Arena is such a terrible name for an arena. Absolutely terrible. But they had to go play there twice in 3 days. You don't see that very often in the NHL where one team plays on the road in the same building twice in a row. That's weird. Kind of takes you back to that COVID season where everyone was hunkered down into like 8-team divisions and just playing those teams in that division 2 games per weekend or per set. Like, you're playing 2 games at one location at a time. But, well, here we go. 2 games in LA. And, hey, they win the first one. It's a bit of an ugly one, but, hey, a win is a win. I'll definitely take it. Connor Bedard scoring a really ugly goal, dirty goal, if you want to say. Like, there's nothing wrong with scoring ugly goals. There's still goals, and sometimes that's what you got to do to beat teams. But, you know, he's pretty much scoring while falling down. So, I don't know. That was a nice goal. And then, how about this? Wyatt Kaiser with his first goal of the season in like the final 15 seconds of the second period, where the Hawks are able to somehow keep it out of the net and avoid like 3 high danger chances on one end and go right down and score on the other end to end the period, which would end up being the game-winning goal. That was the moment in this game. That was the moment of this game. The Kings can't score on their offensive end. Spencer Knight's sprawling. He's out of the net, and they can't put it on net. That's what their problem was. And the Hawks go back down the other way, and even though Frank Nazar fans on a shot, he's still able to get a pass to Wyatt Kaiser, who puts it in, and the Hawks go up 2-0 by the third period. And they're able to hang on with some strong defensive play, weirdly enough, because we'll talk about that defense here in a minute. But some strong offensive play down the stretch. It really did feel like the Kings had a real shot, and they did, because Connor Bedard took a silly penalty late in the hockey game that gave the Kings the power play, and if I'm not mistaken, they went up 2. 2 men up by like pulling the goaltender. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Anyways, they did. They went up 2. So they went at a 6-on-4 power play for the final like minute and a half of this hockey game. And the defense hangs on, and the Hawks win 2-1. That's a gritty win on the road. And that LA team is not a pushover right now. They've made the playoffs for the last couple of years. It's Anze Kopitar's swan song. This team is not going to just give up. They played to the final whistle. Spencer Knight made some big saves down the stretch. They win 2-1. And you're like, okay, you take the loser point against Vegas because they won the next game. You can live with that. They've proven they can hang with the Kings. Now go out and try and maybe get another win in that building again in 2 days. Yeah, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, it didn't. You kidding me? That wasn't happening. What a terrible game they followed that up with. What a terrible performance. Actually, the first half of that game wasn't too bad. It was scoreless. The Kings ended up scoring early in the second, but Spencer Knight played pretty good for almost 2 full periods, and then the end of the second rolls around and oh boy, the entire team fell apart. Because they were in it. It was 1-0 for over half of this game. The Hawks had some chances, couldn't do anything. Spencer Knight's keeping the team in it, and then they get a dirty goal against him. And then they get another goal against him before the end of the second. And then he scores early in the third, and then it's just over, man. It's just over. The defense is not helping. They did their best, but Spencer Knight bailed them out a little bit. And once he can't bail them out at every turn, what do you know? The Kings start scoring in droves because Spencer Knight all of a sudden comes out of the tunnel for the third period and can't make a save. And so the Hawks lose 6-0. I don't really even need to talk about this thing. It was just bad. Very bad. Team couldn't do anything. It's the second time the Hawks have been shut out this season. The other one was a 1-0 shutout loss against the Colorado Avalanche. But that was 1-0. That's different. You're in that game the entire way through. This one, you're not even in it. It's just not even fun to watch. Especially that third period. Oh my God, they look terrible. And they get absolutely trounced. And that's just how hockey goes sometimes. You could play a very good first half of a game or back half of a game, not score, and somehow stay in it because your goaltender either is making a bunch of big saves or the other team just can't capitalize on their opportunities. And so you're only down 1-0, but then all of a sudden everything starts going in the back of your net. You can't score and it's over. And that's what happened in this one. Like, they weren't even outshot crazy. Spencer Knight just had a terrible final 24 minutes of this game. Just terrible. And frankly, I'm not sure why Coach Blashill decided to start Spencer Knight in this one. You're on a back-to-back now. You have the tougher team on the back half, which is Anaheim. And you decide to play a goaltender who's on 2 days rest, as opposed to starting the backup against the weaker team and getting your starting goaltender an extra day rest. Doesn't make any sense to me. I would have gone with Soderblom in this game. And frankly, if you didn't watch this game, you could see 6-0 and assume Soderblom starting this game. But if you thought losing by 6 was once was hard enough, wait until they do it again the next day. If you thought one 6-goal loss was bad, wait until you see they do it again the next day against a better team in the way that they did it. Oh, you thought they looked... You thought they looked bad against Los Angeles. Oh, wait until you watch that game against Anaheim. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? That was embarrassing. That was disgusting. That was abhorrent. One of the worst showcases this team has put on in years, and that's saying something. That is saying something. That's their worst game of the year, probably by a good portion, because they've lost by 6 goals twice already this year. They did it on the road against Buffalo. They did it on the road against LA the day before this game. But man, they let up 50 shots. You can't even blame Soderblom for this one, which is the funny part because he let up 7 goals. But the other thing is, Anaheim got north of 50 shots on net. What's he going to do, stop 49 of them? That's still a 5-1 loss or whatever. Like, what in the hell is this defense doing? The defenders up front cannot protect their goaltender, and Arvid Soderblom made a couple of brilliant saves in this game, which is really funny, again, because the team let up 7 goals. How can you not help out your goaltender at all? At all. Like, yes, Arvid Soderblom, there were definitely a couple goals that went in by him that he probably should have stopped. But you know what helps lighten the load a little bit? Playing defense and not allowing 40 shots in the first 2 periods. Anaheim had set a franchise record 27 shots on goal in that second period. It was 1-0 going into that frame. And it was 5-0 by the end of the second. There was no help for Arvid Soderblom in this game. It felt like every time Anaheim was shooting the puck, it was getting to the goaltender. They were letting up great chances, and Arvid Soderblom made a couple of very nice saves again, but he let up a couple softies. And again, it's not his fault because 40 shots on net, again, in 2 periods of hockey. That cannot happen. You cannot allow that. You cannot. Especially when your offense is only going to spot to you 10 shots on goal. They were outshot by 30 in the first 2 periods. 3 times. 4 times. Whatever. 4 times. I mean, seriously. That was disgusting. In the bad way. Not disgusting as, oh my gosh, that was so good. It made me want to give me that stank face. No, this gives me just the look of disgust. Where I'm like, how are you guys even a professional hockey team? And then the Ducks score early in the third, like within about 30 seconds. And if it wasn't over already, it was over then. And the Hawks mustered up all this wonderful offensive performance against Ville Husso, who came in for about 8 minutes in their last contest in Chicago, and Connor Bedard absolutely made him look silly. So, what happened? Did all of a sudden become unbeatable? The Ducks defense is also pretty good, and that says a lot about the Ducks defense considering they only allowed like 10 shots in 2 periods. The Ducks are a very, very good hockey team. The Hawks taking 2 of 3 against them, I will absolutely take. But this one is absolutely brutal. That was embarrassing. And frankly, and what's even more funny is that even though the Hawks, scored in this one at least, they scored on an own goal. The only way the Hawks offense was actually able to score was when Ville Husso put it in his own net because a centering pass or a pass across the crease from Tyler Bertuzzi went off of Ville Husso's stick and threw his 5-hole into the net. That was the only way the Hawks scored in this game. I mean, dude, that is just ridiculous. Now watch what's going to happen. They're going to play the Rangers in their first game since their loss to the Ducks, and they're going to go out and win because that's just how it's going to work. And it's going to be like, where the hell was that in the last 2 games? Because they just got flat out run out of the building before it even got going. That was really sad. That was a really sad way to go out, man. So 4 games, 1, 2, and 1. You got points in 2 of them. Yippee. You blew a third period lead. You had the lead in the third period. You had the lead in the final 5 minutes. You lose in a shootout. You didn't even have the lead in the last 2 games. You sold your defensive effort to stave off the Kings' 2-man advantage to end their first game there, and their defense just said, well, that's good enough for this road trip. We're done playing. I just saw that Sam Renzel just got sent back down to Rockford, so that's wonderful. Sam Renzel needs to do some more developing. He's got to go back down and play with the Ice Hogs. That's not a good sign, but you got to find some sort of switch up defensively because it has not been good. Well, for the next week and a half, the Hawks get to play some familiar foes. Seems that they've played a lot over their 100-year history as we are in their 100th season. They get the Rangers at home, then they got to go play at St. Louis, and they'll finish up the next week of games at home against Detroit. So they get some original 6 teams, and then they get to play the Blues. And then right after that, they go on their East Canada road trip to play the Maple Leafs, Canadiens, and Senators in 3 games in a row out there. So they got another road trip out east this time instead of out west. But damn, dude, those last 2 games just do not inspire any confidence in me for the next little bit here. They got to get their act together. Or we're looking at another season where they're really not going to be in the conversation into March even. But hey, at least they were in the conversation until December this year. Maybe I don't know, man. They gotta find a way to correct the ship quickly and do so pretty convincingly against some teams that they can beat. So, anyways, that's it. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button if you really did, and keep the conversation going in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about those 2 putrid performances to end this set of games and this road trip. And we'll see you all in the next one.